Throughout centuries of their association with the United Planetary Coalition, UPC, humans had earned a reputation that was less than stellar. Viewed as scavengers, hagglers, and sometimes even pirates, they were considered an irritant to the more refined sensibilities of the intergalactic community. Their diplomats, military personnel, and leaders were often derided as primitive and likened to their evolutionary ancestors, the apes. The humans' propensity for internal conflict, even in the face of peacekeeping efforts by the UPC, further cemented their reputation as unruly members of the coalition. Despite these shortcomings, the humans had managed to secure a place within the coalition, largely due to their impressive achievement of developing faster-than-light (FTL) travel technology. However, their society was seen as a chaotic mess, characterized by inefficient governance, misallocation of resources, and a general lack of cohesion. Their languages, which seemed to be hastily constructed and difficult to comprehend, added to the perception of the humans as a nuisance rather than a valued member of the intergalactic community. When the Brosk launched a devastating attack, sterilizing 3 worlds, including one inhabited by a newly discovered race, the UPC was faced with a dire situation. The call for military conscription was issued, seeking volunteers to defend against further aggression. To the surprise of many, the first responders were humans, defying expectations and challenging preconceived notions about their commitment to the coalition and its ideals. When the call for conscription echoed through the United Planetary Coalition, UPC, expectations were for member governments to respond, offering up their standing armies and allowing civilians to enlist. However, the humans' reaction was unexpected, to say the least. The initial responses didn't come from human leaders or official channels. Instead, they originated from 2 pirate vessels and a stationary scrap station, an astonishing twist that left many bewildered. Of the 56 responses received on the first day, a staggering 47 came from human crews, stations, outposts, and only 1 from the actual human leadership. This embarrassing display of apparent disorganization reinforced the notion among many member races that humans were prone to impulsive acts of violence rather than strategic planning. Despite the high number of replies, only 193 ships turned up for duty, with a mere 75 being official military vessels. Even species like the Grill, known for their pacifism, managed to muster 360 ships, highlighting the lackluster showing by humanity. Human involvement in the war effort proved to be a mixed bag of incompetence and disregard for personal safety. Human ships constantly required repairs, with hull damage predominantly concentrated on their tails, a glaring testament to their ineptitude in combat. Despite this, humans displayed a remarkable indifference to their own well-being, often disregarding medical advice and returning to duty soon after treatment, earning them a reputation as both reckless and resilient. Despite the challenges, the war against the Brosk lasted 2 years, with the enemy proving to be inferior opponents. However, the conflict was not without its casualties, and the absence of civilian losses on the front lines was a stark departure from the norm in interstellar warfare. In the aftermath of the conflict, casualties were tallied. Aside from the devastation wrought upon the 3 UPC worlds by the Brosk, the casualties were predominantly on the side of the humans. Despite their valiant efforts, the human forces suffered heavy losses, with 50 of their ships destroyed and significant casualties among their ranks. Despite their losses, the humans failed to secure a single bounty, adding to the frustration and disappointment surrounding their involvement in the war effort. As the Brosk and its allies begrudgingly surrendered, a human diplomat stood witness, adhering to council protocol. However, the encounter took a sour turn when a Brosk passed by and spat at the diplomat's feet, an act interpreted as poor sportsmanship. In response, the human diplomat smirked, further exacerbating tensions. It would take another year to fully disarm the Brosk and negotiate reparations. In the subsequent years, UPC analysts meticulously combed through confiscated Brosk intelligence, deciphering encrypted data from numerous battlefields. Of particular interest was the frequent mention of a mysterious entity known as the Bloodletter in Brosk communications. This enigmatic term appeared in various contexts, indicating a significant threat to Brosk forces. Despite its confidential nature, word of the Bloodletter spread among UPC military ranks, becoming a symbol of fear and respect. It became apparent that the Bloodletter played a crucial role in crippling Brosk defensive platforms, hinting at the effectiveness of UPC's Goro squadron in the conflict. In the aftermath of the third battle, echoes of victory reverberated through the track base as jubilant cheers erupted. Meanwhile, light years away, a 9-soldier boasted of their exploits, likening themselves to Bloodletters against the brassed filth. Tales of how they dismantled Brosk defensive platforms at Error 9 spread among the troops, each story adding to the mythos of the Bloodletters. The term Bloodletter became synonymous with heroism, proudly worn by retiring veterans and newly formed Special Forces teams alike. However, among the humans, they remained the embarrassing cousins, the perceived incompetents and undesirables of the UPC. Even years after the war, human pirates and soldiers endured mockery and disdain in ports across star systems. Amidst this backdrop, a pivotal moment occurred when UPC intelligence cracked Brosk video comms. The decrypted footage revealed a startling truth: a mysterious ship, unseen in UPC combat reports, conducted lightning-fast bombing raids on Brosk installations. The initial video, capturing the destruction of Brosk destroyers, hinted at a force beyond UPC's understanding. Subsequent footage depicted a cat-and-mouse chase between a Brosk destroyer and the elusive ship, identified only by its blinding thrusters. Despite the garbled communications, one word stood out: Bloodletter. The Brosk's triumphant reports of damage inflicted on the mysterious vessel underscored its significance as a formidable adversary, one that the Brosk had managed to terminate. As the intense exchange of fire continued, the small ship endured brutal hits without its shields. Suddenly, it pulled up sharply, seemingly attempting to flee the planet, with the pursuing Brosk destroyer hot on its heels. Amidst their blistering descent through the atmosphere, something was ejected from the small vessel, a move initially dismissed as routine weight shedding by the Brosk crew. However, panic set in as they realized the true nature of the jettisoned cargo, the vessel's own fusion core. In a daring gambit, the ship had severed its lifeline, turning itself into a makeshift weapon. With reserve energy, the Bloodletter ship spun on its axis, aligning itself perfectly to fire a low-power blast at its own core. The resulting explosion, just meters from the Brosk destroyer, spelled doom for the pursuing vessel. In the fleeting moments before the feed terminated, a clear profile shot of the Bloodletter ship emerged, a final act of defiance that would resonate for months to come. Despite the humiliation suffered by the UPC, there was a newfound respect for the humans' ingenuity and resourcefulness. The revelation that 193 combat-capable interstellar ships, assembled from scraps and manned by determined crews, had been operating independently throughout the conflict was both astonishing and humbling. The term Bloodletter took on new meaning, signifying priority targets and the elusive nature of an unknown race whose prowess in wartime had caught the UPC off guard. As the war wound down, the humans had left an indelible mark, not as the bumbling cousins, but as formidable adversaries whose actions would be remembered long after the dust had settled. The Bloodletters evolved from enigmatic figures to legendary saviors throughout the conflict. They were the strategic masterminds, risking their lives to sabotage Bros cruisers, enabling UPC ships to flee from unfavorable engagements. They infiltrated planetary defenses, bravely facing enemy fire to disable key installations. These daring individuals were the pirates who executed precision strikes on enemy flagships, neutralizing Bros commanders and crippling their forces before disappearing into the void. But their contributions went beyond mere acts of sabotage. They intercepted supply ships, ensuring vital resources reached UPC forces. They liberated enslaved populations, decimating bros, fighting numbers, and striking fear into their ranks. In a defining moment, they seized the brusque capital, forcing a surrender and broadcasting the declaration of peace to the galaxy. While the UPC celebrated their victories, the humans remained stoic in the face of mockery and abuse. They never sought recognition or retribution. Instead, they silently carried out their missions, sparing countless lives on both sides of the conflict. When the UPC attempted to acknowledge their contributions with a public declaration of recognition and a substantial gift, the humans politely declined, standing by their principles. In a poignant gesture, a monument on the human capital world honored the three sterilized worlds, symbolizing the sacrifice made before the conflict began. The message inscribed on the monument served as an epitaph, reminding all who passed by of the cost of war and the importance of peace. In the end, the humans emerged not as villains, but as honorable guardians, willing to sacrifice for the greater good.